everyone, and welcome to another episode of Radiance Central, and I'm your host, Natasha St. Michael, and thank you so much for joining me. So last week I did a video sharing some tips and motivation on how to get healthy and how to get back onto a healthy diet. And someone had left a comment on the YouTube video mentioning that they just feel overwhelmed with daily life. They feel overwhelmed with their work. They feel just like there's just too much they have to do, that in itself is just too much. That on top of it, there's no energy or motivation or inspiration left to be doing anything else. That just going through sort of the daily grind is just enough, and it's overwhelming. And I wanted to share some suggestions and also my own experience of dealing with that, and also what I recommend to my coaching clients, because this is something that I think a lot of people experience. I know for myself that I go through many points where I feel overwhelmed, where I feel like there's a lot of pressure, or life is too much, or I'm not enjoying certain things, or all sorts of stuff. You know, my own history is that I've dealt with depression my entire life. So I've always had to kind of keep things in check, because I know that once sort of the dark cloud comes, then it could stay there for a while, and it could just put a damper on everything, and everything becomes difficult. The moment you feel bad or overwhelmed or stressed about things, that affects everything else. So what to do about that? What to do when you feel just stressed out about life in general? My suggestion is that you have to look at that stress as a red flag. Okay, and that's what I tell most of my coaching clients, and that's what I tell myself, is that the moment I start feeling stressed out and overwhelmed, and where I don't feel inspired by the stress and I don't feel motivated by the stress, but I actually feel almost paralyzed by the stress, or it's dragging me down and I feel just gloom and doom, that to me is a red flag that I need to start reevaluating what's going on in my daily life, and especially what is my foundation like, and has anything sort of fallen off kilter. And so what that means is that I look at the basics in my own life, okay? And the basics would be, am I getting enough sleep? Am I eating enough? When was the last time I got groceries? Is my home clean? Am I on top of paying my monthly bills and my responsibilities? Am I having a social life? When was the last time I saw someone? You know, it's asking myself basic things that I need, that I know I need, in order to function and to have balance in my life, right? And those things have to do with sleep. They have to do with food and nourishment. They have to do with exercise and getting fresh air. They have to do with having a balance between work and school and social life, having a social life, being around people. It has to do with how you're taking care of yourself and what are you prioritizing. So a lot of times I find when people start feeling overwhelmed and they just feel like the gloom and doom, and they're just not enjoying their life anymore, and they feel pressure from everything and they resent everything, a lot of times it's because something in their foundation is off. And in order to sort of build a castle of your life, you need to have a strong foundation. If your foundation is weak, like let's say you're not getting enough sleep, or let's say you haven't been able to see anyone or have fun or just have a good time in ages because you're always working, or you're not eating properly, you might not be eating enough, or you're eating too much junk, that stuff's going to affect your mood, right? And it's going to affect everything in your life. You know, if you're not happy with one thing, it's going to affect everything else. You know, and if you're not taking care of the basics in your life, it is going to seep into everything else in your life. And things that were once easy to do, things that were once joyful to do, might become hard because the basics are not taken care of. So when you're feeling overwhelmed, when you're feeling like everything just sucks and you resent things and you feel dark and heavy, then ask yourself, you know, what's going on? What's going on with my sleep? What's going on with my food? What's going on with my exercise? What's going on with my social life? What's going on with the bills? What's going on with my home? What's going on with my living environment? What's going on with the basics? And get back to that. I can also share an example of someone that is very near and dear to me that many years ago, I would say about 20 years ago when I was a university student, I worked as an apprentice for an artist. And this artist had mental issues, and over the course of a summer, over the course of a few months, he was put into a mental institution. And when he got out of the institution, I asked him what he learned. You know, what was it that he got out of that experience? And what he told me was that he basically got back to his basics. He got back to learning how to have a routine. He got back to how to take care of himself. You know, a lot of times people take these things for granted, but for him it was about learning to get up every day at the same time. It was making sure he was getting enough sleep. It was making sure that he made his bed every day, that he had a clean home, that he was doing his dishes, that he was taking a shower every day, that he was eating 3 meals a day. All these things count. They're small things, but if they fall off alignment, what ends up happening is that over time, it snowballs and it becomes a bigger issue, and then it affects everything else. It affects your basic functions. You know, so it's about getting back to those basics, because I find when you have a strong foundation and when you're taking care of your basic needs every day, then you can move on and do other things. Then you can move on with more energy and lightness and motivation and inspiration to do more. You know, but if you're feeling overwhelmed and stressed, a lot of times it's because something in your life is sort of draining and sapping out all your energy. That taking on bigger things becomes much more difficult because the smaller things are not taken care of. So the small things are just as important or even more important than the big things. And it's amazing to see how when you really take care of these basic things, how much easier everything else becomes. So I know for myself, the moment I start feeling overwhelmed, the moment I start resenting things, the moment I feel sad or I want to cry or I just start feeling depressed, I go through my basics and reassess my situation, and I get back to those things. And a lot of times it might be because I wasn't exercising for a few weeks or even a few months, or it might be that I don't have much of a social life and I need to start seeing people again. Or it might mean that I'm not taking care of my bills and I need to do that because it's weighing on me and I know I'm not as organized as I'd like to be. It's those basic things that once those things are taken care of, you feel lighter, you feel freer, and you can do more. So that's my suggestion. Try it out. Reassess your situation in your life and what your priorities are, and what is it that you haven't been taking care of. What is it that you haven't been making a priority, you know, that you keep pushing aside, because that one little thing, once you start doing it, can make a huge difference and affect everything else in your life. All right, so these are my suggestions, and I'm wishing you a super fabulous day, and I'll see you again soon. Bye.